Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new books by indie authors. Your host for today's show is B Alan Bourgeois. We hope you do enjoy today's show.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Indie Beacon Show. This is your host, B Alan Bourgeois, and today I have DJ Martin. It's not a DJ as in music, it's a different DJ. Welcome, DJ.
Hi, how are you? Actually, the DJ does work because I was a disc jockey once upon a time. Yeah.
I don't want to date you, but what type of music were you playing then?
Let's just say that nothing was digital at all.
That's not too long ago, actually, so we're good there. All right. So you have written several different types of books. What I would like to focus in on this section is your herbs and things of that nature. And I love this little quote that you have. It's, "I'm the grumpy old witch living in the woods of your parents' scary stories." Why do you say that, and how does that relate to the herbs?
Okay. All of my herb books incorporate not only the medicinal aspects of the herbs I talk about, but also the magical uses for them, because I am a witch and I use herbs in my spells. I say grumpy because I have a reputation for being so. I live in the woods, henceforth.
Okay. So you're living up to all the stereotypes.
Yeah, except I don't have a wart on my nose. My hair isn't long. I do have a bunch of cats, though, if that works.
Any black ones?
Not at the moment, no. More than likely, you're going to see a very dark gray one behind me at some point, but he's actually dark gray, not black.
All righty. So what got you into studying herbs?
Probably maybe 30, 35 years ago, something like that. I got kind of fed up with the synthetic drugs that were available. I don't react well to a lot of them, and started investigating natural therapies for virtually anything. One of my accounting clients is also very into natural substances. And so we started talking, and I started buying books and reading. And then back in 2004, I decided to go back to school and get my master herbalist diploma. And that's basically where I've been for the last however many years. The books were an offshoot of conversations with friends on fora, on the internet. And they said, well, geez, don't hoard all this knowledge to yourself. So I started writing books.
Okay. So since you didn't say it this way, I'm going to ask the question, where did the witch aspect come into play?
I've always been one. It didn't come into play. It's part of who I am.
Okay. The reason I asked that is because you were talking specifically about the herbs and not the fact that herbs were being used. So I just wanted to clarify that. With the books you've written, do those particular ones have spells written in them, or are they specifically on their healing aspect?
They're either, they talk about the healing aspect of it. They talk about using herbs and spells, not just for healing, but maybe protection or something like that. I do not write spells for other people. I firmly believe in writing your own. If people get results with other people's spells, that's great for them, but I don't. So everything is, okay, here's some different combinations of herbs you might want to use, but how you use them and the wording of your spell or whatever else you want to do is up to you.
Okay. So looking at the four books that you have herbs, medicinal, magical, marvelous, a green witch's formulary, beneficial, 95 of the world's worst herbs, and a green witch's cupboard. So of those, what's a good starting point for a novelist who's interested in just the aspect of herbs?
Using the herbs, medicinal, magical, marvelous is a strict reference book. It's nothing but tables and lists. And if you want to know an herb for, let's say arthritis, there's a list that you can go through and look up the word arthritis, and it'll tell you which herbs are good for that. If you want to find an herb that's good for protection, there's a list where you can find the word protection, and it will tell you which herb is good for that. It's all listed by Latin binomial, so there is no danger of confusing one herb for another. For example, huckleberry might mean a different herb to several different people. And there's also balm, which might mean bee balm, lemon balm. It could be a lot of things. So mine is all done by Latin binomial.
Okay. And then the one that's the worst herbs, I assume, and I'm guessing here that that's more or less kind of stay away from type of book. You know, these aren't the herbs you really want to work with.
The baneful book, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, that is, it's not herbs you want to necessarily stay away from, but it will tell you what will happen if you use them.
Okay. So good warning thing.
Mhm.
Out of curiosity, have you chosen or thought about writing books for, relating to the herbs for children so they can start learning at a young age?
I don't relate well to young children. I have grandchildren, but I'm not really sure how to deal with them because I didn't raise my own children. So I don't relate well to kids. I do have a friend, an online friend, because we've never met in person, who is wonderful about talking about herbs with kids. She's a homesteader. She has a child of her own. She's a master herbalist like I am and makes her own remedies. And so, if somebody wanted to talk to children about herbs, I would point them in Corinne's direction.
Okay. Now, as a master herbalist, and that's
Mhm.
obviously some years worth of study and stuff, but how else do you become a master at herbs? I mean, what is there a certain test that you have to do with the herbs to prove your, how accurate you are? What? Help me understand that.
The course that I took was 2.5 years, and it includes, this was all for the medicinal aspect of herbs, and it was all scientific stuff. I had 9 months of physiology and anatomy in that 2.5 years, and it's basically the same course that beginning medical students take. And I'm not a scientific person. That course went right in my head and out of it as soon as I took the final. But what you need to do is, what they do is they take you through individual herbs for different things, like, say, not to get gross, but constipation. And you actually study those herbs in depth, including making like a tea with one of them and telling the teacher how it tasted. So it's a lot of studying. That's usually a course for people that want to go into consulting. And then there's more work. You have to actually do apprenticeship to become a registered herbalist, which I also don't do because of that grumpy part of me. But most people can actually study on their own. There are excellent books out there, not just mine, but many more. And study and experiment. Because just like a doctor's going to give you a pill and say, here, try this. If it doesn't work, call me and we'll try something else. Your body is going to probably react to an herb differently than I would. So you need to get to know how you react to stuff.
Okay. And out of curiosity, even though you've written basically a detailed book about all the herbs that are out there and stuff like that, I saw the cat's tail. Are there more herbs that you're discovering? Is there another book on the horizon to be more inclusive?
No, actually, I think I'm kind of written out as far as herbs go. I started researching one on the historical uses of herbs, and I found it interesting, but I couldn't figure out a way to write it to make it interesting to somebody else, because history is also something that I enjoy. So I have gobs and gobs and gobs of notes on how certain herbs were used in the past, but may not be used the same way now. But like I said, I couldn't figure out how to make it interesting. There are always new uses for herbs because they're being studied now. And, especially the Chinese, they do a really good job of their investigation of herbal medicine, but the West is catching up. Yeah. And I sort of keep up with it a little bit, but not to the point of really in-depth study because I'm not trying to use them.
Okay. If my memory serves me correctly about the history of herbs, it was used way before what is known as medicine or Western medicine today.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, I mean, we learned a lot from those herbs to help improve our medicine. And in fact, a lot of herbs are used in pills and things of that nature, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct. And yeah, I mean, herbs were the medicine hundreds and hundreds of years ago before people figured out how to synthesize the different chemicals in herbs. But there was also the use of oh, I don't know, ground sapphires in a drink to cure something. I mean, if you go back to some of the old stuff, say from the 1400s and before, you'll see all sorts of weird stuff that's supposed to cure different ailments, things that today we would look at and go, really? Which I do, because I was reading stuff that was on thin paper and with the S's that looked like F's. So but it's grown, and Western medicine is starting to catch up with all of the great things that herbs can do.
Great. Well, as you heard, that was our alarm. Our time is up for this section, so we're going to take a quick break, let our sponsors do their thing, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to B4R.store, a bookstore for indie readers and indie authors, where indie authors can earn their fair share from the books you purchase. We have a wide variety of genres that you can select from. We also have ebooks and paperbacks. You can select authors by their first names, and we also have music. If you're interested in their city or country, we have that listed as well. If you are an author and would like to be on our bookstore, we have 3 options for you. There is a small minimal charge, or you can join our organization at authorsmarketing.org and learn how to better market and sell yourself. That is B4R.store, a bookstore for indie readers and indie authors.
Hi, I'm Charles Brakefield.
And I'm Rox Berkey.
Together, we write as Brakefield and Berkey.
Our techno thriller series is 12 books strong, with book 13, The Enigma Tracer, planned for 2022.
Techno thrillers are the cyber good guys versus today's darknet thugs.
We added our series prelude, Out of Poland, a 1939 historical novella, in 2021.
We also have 8 short stories available in family and women's contemporary genres, with more planned for 2022.
Please visit our website, enigmaseries.com, to learn more about why we say technology is today's weapon of choice. Thank you.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new books by indie authors. Your host for today's show is B Alan Bourgeois. We hope you do enjoy today's show.
And welcome back. This is your host, B Alan Bourgeois, and we are talking with DJ Martin. In the first half, we talked about her herbs and the books that she's written related to that. Now we're going to be talking about her fiction books. And DJ, if I understand correctly, your first one was called Stress. So let's start there and give us a little bit tease about what that book is about.
Okay, the protagonist is Amy, and she's an administrative assistant to a real live ogre. The only problem is he doesn't look much like Shrek because he wears Armani suits. He can be just as dumb as Shrek because he gets himself into trouble. And of course, as his administrative assistant, it's up to her to kind of bail him out. And in the first book, she doesn't know she's a witch. And all sorts of weird things happen. And she's sort of like, okay, what's going on? And then as the second book progresses, all of a sudden her powers manifest, and it's oh my God, now what am I doing? But she has a familiar and friends that will guide her along her path.
Now,
so that comes into play.
If I understood you correctly, this series of books, there's 5 of them, goes over 2004. Okay. Goes over a 2,000-year period. Is that correct?
No. Immortal Spirit is the life of Amy's familiar, And that covers a 2,000-year span.
Okay. And that book is number
4.
for the last one. Okay.
Right. It doesn't have a number. It says An Ogre's Assistant novel.
Okay. So we've gone through the stress, basically introducing Amy. So what is the next book after that?
Upheaval. And that's when she finds out she's a witch and her powers manifest, which kind of blows up her whole ordered existence. She's a Virgo. And, you know, they always say that authors put a little bit of themselves into a character. Well, I mean, she's even younger than my children, but she's a lot like me. And some of the things that happened to her would definitely upset my ordered existence.
Okay. And then the third book is?
The third one is Transformation. And she's accepted her powers. And once again, her boss gets into trouble and she needs to bail him out. And she travels. This time, she's based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but the third one is actually based, most of it happens in the New Orleans area.
Okay. Is that someplace you've lived and have enjoyed? Or
No,
just
I've visited. I have friends in New Orleans, and for a city, it's lovely.
Now, obviously, because you're a witch, you've already got that background, so you didn't have to do much research, but you had to research other things. So how did you go about that?
The administrative assistant, I didn't have any problem with. I've been doing that most of my adult life. The rest of it was finding out what's available now. I haven't lived in Minneapolis for 37 years. And so I had to go back and find out what the city's like now. And the rest of it basically came out of my imagination. I didn't have to research a lot. The third book, based in New Orleans, the last time I was there, which was, I think, a couple of years before that book came out, I made a lot of notes on what I saw and things like that.
Now, the last book is about the familiar, which, if I heard correctly, was the cat, correct?
Correct. Yep. His name is, in this incarnation, he's a cat, and his name is Fudge because he's dark brown.
Okay. Now, you have how many cats yourself?
4.
And I'm sure you're taking a lot of their characteristics into this one?
Fudge is based on my very first cat that I got in 1979. Boomer thought he was human and never got over the fact that he wasn't allowed to sit at the table and things like that. Fudge's personality is very based on Boomer. The cats that I have now wouldn't really care about anything happening to their human as long as they got fed.
Quiet and simple.
Basically, yeah. Well, no, not quiet. They're all pretty mouthy.
Right. Since you've written that one, what other books are you planning to write, or have you considered writing beyond that?
I haven't. I started writing a 4th novel in that series and got stuck. And because I'm a pantser, when I get stuck, I just put it aside. And my attitude is if whatever is supposed to happen next comes to me, I'll pick it back up and start writing again. But I haven't written anything more in that series. The last book that just came out this last August, and it's a new genre for me. It's paranormal women's fiction, and it has paranormal aspects in it, but the protagonist is an older lady. She's not, you know, in her maybe 20s or 30s like most paranormal novels are now.
Okay. Out of curiosity, why did you choose her to be older instead of the norm?
It's actually a new genre. One of my sort of favorite authors, she writes paranormal romance, and I skip a lot of pages because there's explicit sex in it, but I like her writing apart from that. Introduced me to that genre, and like I said, it's a relatively new genre, maybe only about 3 or 4 years now. More women are writing in it, and the protagonist is generally at least 40 or over.
Okay.
And it's relatable. I don't really relate to 20s and 30s protagonists anymore.
I can understand that. From the pantsers aspect, I can also understand when you get stuck, you do just let it go because you never know what's going to come along, and then boom, you've got a whole new idea and stuff.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. we're almost out of time for this segment. So I want to ask, from the fictional aspect, okay, do you have any words of advice for somebody who might be considering being a writer?
Right. Don't worry about anybody's opinion at first. Just write. And if you come up with something that you think is good, then refine it until you think it's really good, and then let somebody read it. But if you want to be a writer, the first thing to do is sit down and start putting words on paper or words on screen nowadays.
Right. I'm one that still does by paper, so.
I can't anymore. I have to type. I can't hold a pen that long anymore.
Yeah, it does wear on you as you get older.
Uh-huh.
We're going to stop here and take a break, and we'll come back after our sponsors do their thing.
Okay.
Each and every one of us has a mission in life. Mine is to help people laugh through the good times and the bad. My name is Charlotte Canyon, and I am an author, a speaker, and a host on Indie Beacon Radio. If you need me to speak at an event or autograph my book, you can contact me at charlotte@charlottecanyon.com. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
Authors Marketing International, a membership-based organization where members learn how to better market and sell themselves. Join us at authorsmarketing.org.
Marianne Fairmouth is a career consultant with 30 years experience in the national recruiting world, a multi-award-winning author in multi-genres, and a speaker that gives presentations to help you succeed. Her book, Revolutionary Recruiting, made the top 20 global list of recruiting books. Find her on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or at fairmouth.com.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new books by indie authors. Your host for today's show is B Alan Bourgeois. We hope you do enjoy today's show.
And welcome back. This is your host, B Alan Bourgeois, and you're listening or watching the Indie Beacon Show. We appreciate that. Today, we've been talking with DJ Martin. She's got a collection of books. Her first, or one set of nonfiction is about herbs and things related to that. And her fiction books are a combination of two different types of subjects, witchery, fun things like that, but also paranormal is her last one. You won an award for one of the books. Is that right?
I did. Reinventing Herself, the one that I mentioned that just came out in August, won the 2021 Pencraft Award for Paranormal Fiction, which shocked me to no end. And I've been dancing around since, let's see, when it came out, November. I think I've been dancing in my chair since then.
Now, I'm going to ask, because I'm sure some other people are going to think this too. Did you cast a spell on your book to win?
No, I did not, actually.
That's good. I have to make fun of this if you don't mind. So
No problem. No, actually, I do small spells when I really want something to happen, but it's also when if you're a normal, I guess if you're a normal witch like me, you do all the mundane things first before you rely on magic. And so I entered my book in the hopes that my writing was good enough to win.
And it was.
And apparently it was, which still shocks me.
I understand. You mentioned, if I got that correctly, a normal witch like you. So what is not a normal witch?
I don't know. I'm probably actually rather abnormal because I just go off and do my thing. I'm not Wiccan, which is most people's perception of a witch. I'm not Wiccan. I don't belong to any groups. Like I said, I just do my own thing and worry about what I have to do.
Cool. So the obvious question that I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to know, your books are obviously on Amazon, but where else can they find your books?
They can find them just about anywhere. I have them. Yeah, they're obviously on Amazon, but they're through, because the ebooks are published through Draft to Digital. They're also distributed to Kobo and Barnes and Noble and a bunch of other places. Mm-hmm. The paperbacks are also available at Barnes and Noble And I know they're available wholesale. So bookstores, if you want to buy it through your local bookstore, you can ask them to order them. They're all available through Ingram Spark.
Great. And if they order, do you have an order ability on your website, or do you send them to?
They can buy them directly from me. And if they buy them directly from me, it comes with an autograph.
Wonderful. So what is the website for you?
authordjmartin.com.
Okay. Out of curiosity, now that COVID hopefully is slowing down and we're going to be getting somewhat back to normal again.
Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yes. Are you planning on any in-person events or anything?
No, I'm not. I live literally in the sticks. I'm 2 miles off a pavement, and I'm almost 3 hours from the Atlanta airport. So traveling for me is a major production, and I haven't done anything even really much before COVID because it has to be worth my while. And going that far usually isn't worth my while. So I haven't. If somebody wants to contact me, we'll talk. I have no problems with traveling.
And of course, you can do it by Zoom and things of that nature.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
I did. I talked to friends in the UK last year via Zoom. We did a little interview.
Nice. I noticed on your website you have ruins readings. Is that something you do for people, or is that just information you put out there?
No, it's something that I do. I started reading for myself, and then friends asked me to do readings, and so I do it for others. Once again, I don't do it in person because, like I told you in the email when we were discussing this interview, I don't think fast on my feet. So I would rather cast the runes and look at them and have time to chew over them in relation to whatever question is being asked. And so that's all done by email.
Okay, good. Well, that brings us to the end of this interview. I thank you very much for your time, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for watching the Indie Beacon Show, produced by B Alan Bourgeois for the Authors Marketing International LLC, copyright 2022, voiceover by B Alan Bourgeois. If you would like to be a sponsor of the show, please contact us at authorsmarketing@outlook.com. If you would like to be on this show, it is free to authors. Simply fill out the form at indiebeacon.com. The music is provided by Happy Follows. The music is entitled